All right. In 10 words or less, why did you start forging blades? Um, hmm. So I'm really not a 10 words or less guy. So I'm really not a 10 words or less guy, so this will end up being a lot more than that. I got started forging blades really out of my interest in martial arts. I had done martial arts, Japanese karate style, and I had done sword style and various other things, Aikido. And so I kind of started with this interest in using swords, swords that you could take out and chop up stuff with. So that kind of led me to forging. And, the pole star for me has always been, how does this thing work? Is it a good tool? And once you have that tool function down, then all the rest of the stuff, aesthetics and how pretty it is, and is it cool looking or badass, all that stuff falls into place after you solve the question of, is this thing actually going to cut its intended target? So the single most important thing I think to be successful in anything is persistence, but this is especially true in any kind of artistic pursuit. A lot of guys who go into knife making come out of kind of hardcore backgrounds of, the military or police, or, they're machinists or that sort of thing. And they look at it as kind of macho thing. But the reality is this is a form of art. And, as a result, there's no path. There's nobody setting out, okay, this is what you need to do in order to become successful at this. Here's where you need to go. Here's what you need to do. You have to make it up all yourself. You have to fail, and keep picking yourself up, keep picking yourself up, keep picking yourself up. If you can't do that, then intelligence and good looks and technical skill and all that stuff is going to be of limited value, because you'll just get so frustrated and tired of the setbacks that are inevitable in any kind of pursuit that you do all by yourself, that you'll just quit somewhere along the way. So the coolest things that I've ever done have all been the ones where I actually smelted the steel, and then folded the steel. And so I kind of had a hand in every stage of the making of the blade. Traditional Japanese blades are made by taking a really primitive material called tamahagane, which is bloom steel, or steel that you make in a very primitive little smelter, and then folding it and forge welding it and all that stuff. And to actually start with something that in essence is dirt and take that all the way to a final katana is an amazing thing. And so I've only done a couple of full-length blades that I actually smelted the material myself, and really proud of those, because there's just, you can't believe how much work goes into it, and frankly a lot of skill too. So I don't really have a favorite steel. There are kind of two different types of steel that I really love. The first is the tamahagane based steel, homemade steel that I smelted and forged, folded and welded and all that stuff. Starting from dirt, making steel, that to me is one of the coolest things ever, and it results in a really beautiful material. But notwithstanding all the silly things that fanboys of Japanese swords say, the ancient kind of steel is not as effective. It's not as durable and so forth. It's not as high performance, let's put it that way, as a modern steel. So of the steels that I have used for making swords, I really like W2 especially. It has that little pinch of vanadium in it, and you can get beautiful hamones, very hard, very durable. And you know, I love making more modern high performance type swords from that. On the other hand, you know, I also make tactical blades under my Tactix Armory line, and those are all stainless steel. I use S30V mostly, but I use a couple of other steels as well. And frankly, you know, people obsess about what kind of steel this or that is and what's the best steel. They all have advantages and disadvantages. And so I don't stress too much about, you know, the type of steel. All the steels that I use for my Tactix Armory stuff are, you know, high-end modern steels, powder metallurgy. You know, they have vanadium and so forth, very hard, durable steels. And, you know, they're kind of disadvantages and advantages to a variety of those types of steel. So I have really two main pieces of advice for people who want to become full-time smiths or full-time knife makers. The first piece of advice is transition into it slowly. Don't think that you're going to go overnight from you know, working at the factory or, you know, being a, you know, brain surgeon or something to becoming a full-time knife maker. Unless you got a lot of money in the bank, you're going to have to build your clientele, build your business, and that just doesn't happen overnight. So you need to sort of work it as a part-time job and take it where it leads. Now, the cool thing about that is, and this is really important, you know, there are people who think that they want to be involved in kind of artistic careers, and once they come to realize that every day you have to get up and you have to do hard work, you know, that it's not magic. They realize that, you know, maybe this isn't all that much more fun than some other things that I could be doing, and it has all these areas of uncertainty and financial difficulties and ups and downs of the business, and there are aspects of the business maybe that you didn't anticipate, that you have to be a marketing guy, you got to be doing email all day, you know, all these other facets of the business that you didn't really anticipate. By doing it as a part-time thing, you can kind of experiment with it, recognize what you really like to do and what you don't, and maybe you might realize, hey, I actually was pretty happy being a brain surgeon, and I'd just as soon do that as make knives every day. So a variety of pretty good reasons to stay part-time for a good while and transition as it in an organic sort of way. I've actually never joined any of the professional organizations, Knife Makers Guild or whatever. I'm just kind of not that joiner type guy. I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think there's anything wrong with it whatsoever, and it can be of great benefit. All the networking is an excellent idea. I probably should be members of all those organizations, but it's just been kind of one of those things that I never allocated any particular energy or direction to. But I certainly wouldn't discourage anybody, and I think they're very valuable organizations. So to me, kind of not a big deal, but for other people, I think could be really valuable. So the thing that people who are just starting to make knives today probably don't recognize is how difficult it was to accumulate knowledge even 10 or 15 years ago. And before that, even more difficult. There's just so much information on the internet now that you can just go in and soak up enormous amounts of information. I would have been way ahead of the curve if there had been somebody, you know, like me and all the other guys out there on YouTube and people with websites and blogs and forums and all that stuff. There's just so much more information out there now than there was then. That's nothing that I can do anything about. So I don't feel that I made any real mistakes in what I was doing earlier. It just, boy, it sure would have been nice to start out today as opposed to 20 years ago when I did. Tactix Armory is a new venture that I'm working on right now that really, I think, draws on exactly the same things that drew me to Japanese swords. I'm interested in blades that are useful, that are durable, that are attractive. But at the end of the day, I kind of despise blades that are just all show and that really don't have much functional appeal. So the first thing that I'm always working on with my Tactix Armory blades is how useful are they? So, we've worked a lot on not just the blade itself, but how it's carried, how it's deployed, and we've tried to think through. I would say most of these designs are kind of minimalist designs. We've tried to think through what are the most important functions of this knife, and design straight for that. So a lot of what I'm trying to do as I move forward with Tactix Armory is I really want to show people, here's how we envision them being used, here's how we envision them being deployed, here's how we carry them, here are people that integrate these blades into their life. The slogan for Tactix Armory is, it's not just a knife, it's your life. And what I mean by that is that, I started carrying a knife when I was like 8 years old, and now knives have been so kind of, oh, you can't take them to school, they're dangerous and all this kind of stuff. But really, the point of a knife, it's a tool, it's a thing that's, I think, for people who carry knives, it's really intimate to who they are, to their understanding of, what they do in life and how they carry themselves and where they go and all of that sort of thing, what they're capable of accomplishing and expressing, as people. I don't want to get too carried away with that, but I really do believe that a good knife is, it's an important part of your character, of who you are. And so we're really trying to work on that kind of aspect with Tactix Armory of how you integrate this knife and how you use it seamlessly in your own life. Most people use knives to accomplish little tasks in their life, to make things easier, to go out and solve problems in the world. And, I think that's a really, really important part of being a human being. And so for me, my real goal with this brand and with this organization is to, I don't know, I don't want to be too grandiose about it, but I want us to kind of recapture this notion that a knife is not just something for shanking people in the prison yard, that it's a tool, that it's something that helps us be more self-confident and accomplished and capable of going out into the world and fixing things and solving problems and getting through our day in an effective way. That's all I got.